Hello. So, we are about 3 days out from our first fall frost out here in Zone 5B. And I thought, since I like to do little garden retrospectives at the end of the season, and this is probably going to be one of our last nice days before I start chopping everything down, that I'd do a little tour, walk through, and talk about what went well this year, what I learned, and what's coming for next year. And then I have a special surprise at the end. We have a new addition that I'm going to share as well. So I'm just going to go around and muse to myself and the internet at large. So here we go. Sweet potatoes, they are seeming to come to the end of their prime. It's got some yellowing. They've been barely watered all season, so it's kind of like Schrodinger's potatoes in these pots. So probably tomorrow or the day after, I'm going to just dump these out into a wheelbarrow and see if we got any tubers or not. I'm curious to see what happened in there. It could be absolutely nothing, but if nothing else, they were aesthetic for the season. So I'm curious to see how we did on those. The Brussels sprouts never sprouted. I'm not going to pull those yet. I'm going to see if they do anything into the fall. Lettuce has all gone to seed. This nasturtium's finally just hitting its stride. While I'm over here, two things we just added. This is a little Josta berry, which is a hybrid of gooseberry and black currant. So I'm curious to see how that does. It seems to like that spot, so hopefully that'll fill in nicely. And then our other new addition looks a little shrimpy right now, but this guy is a clove currant, or I believe it's a golden currant, but it's supposed to have similar qualities to a clove currant, so hopefully we will get some nice fragrant blooms and fruit off that soon. I was really antsy to get fruit and berry bushes in this year since we don't really have space for the orchard yet, so hopefully we'll get some fruit next year. Swiss Chard was the real MVP this year. It's been producing delightfully. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to see how frost hardy it is or if I'm just going to cut it all back and make it into pesto. We will see about that. I got to pull up carrots soon. I don't think the lettuce is actually going to reach the seed stage, but I'll just turn this all under and mulch on top. Then this bed, same thing. I put some, I can't remember if those are radishes or turnips. They're doing okay. These beds, I've noticed, tend to get a little bit compacted. I think it's because there's a little bit less mulch on top. But I am happy with how the germination went on these guys that were mulched with straw, so I'm definitely going to do that next year. I have an idea for irrigation that I think will work better next year, because what I noticed this year is that we did much better than last year for water retention. We got some finer mulch that helped retain moisture the way the back to Eden is supposed to. However, I noticed that if it got dry under the mulch layer, there was no way to rehydrate it easily. My strategy lately has been to kind of spot water. We have this leaky hose that the spigot just kind of keeps leaking from the tap, and I just kind of prop it open and let it drip into whichever needs the most love, and that's been working okay. That seems to penetrate better when it's left for a day or two just dripping in one spot. But if I go to water from the top, if it's super dry, it just does not penetrate at all. Like all the mulch soaks it up and then most of it evaporates before it reaches the root level, so that's not really tenable. So what I'm going to try next year, and I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to put this in this fall or in the spring, is they're called Ollas. It's O-L-L-A, and they're a southwestern traditional irrigation technique, which is basically a buried terracotta vase. The method I've seen that's cheaper is to use two terracotta pots glued together. But the premise is that you bury them and they act as a reservoir that leaches water at the root level. And I think the combination of that and mulch should be really effective and keep water to a minimum. Because I'd like to be totally on rain barrel water next year. And I'm hoping that, especially if I put like a little bit of activated charcoal in there or something, that the oils will act as a little bit of filtration for water off our roof. So that's the plan for next year, is to just see if we can't get more irrigation at the root level. I'm thinking maybe like 1 every 2 feet. Maybe I'll start with 2 in each bed and see. Especially these guys here, I think they would benefit from that because it gets so compacted so fast. But overall, everything did better than last year. I'm just curious to see how the irrigation works. The germination rates were weird in these beds. You can see a lot of stuff. Everything kind of took forever to germinate. I think it's because it wasn't watered well, and I'm still trying to find that balance between being xeric-ish and actually letting things reach their potential. So I'm hoping with Oyas there'll be a little bit more water, everything will germinate a little bit better, and come into its own a little bit more. Like this, I planted this kale 6 weeks ago, so you can kind of see that things are behaving a little bit sporadically. But that worked in our favor with these Swiss chard, because then it was like an accidental succession planting, like I'd mentioned before, so I'm not mad about it in general, but I'd like a little bit more consistency next year, and I'm hoping that water will achieve that. The squash did awesome this year. These were kind of stunted for a while. They each put on about 5 fruits and kind of stopped. And then what I did was applied I think I was diluted 1 to 10, not comfrey tea, nettle tea fertilizer as a foliar spray that I made from our nettles. And everything just exploded after that. I gave them a good drink and the foliar spray, and I doubled the yield with 1 application. So definitely going to do more of that next year. That worked great. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to rotate crops, though, because I think we're going to do a lot of squash in these beds, because that seems to be happiest outside, and a lot of things that weren't performing well I want to bring into, well, the new edition I'll show you soon. But both of these zucchini in the back and in the front here did amazing. These are the Black Beauty zucchini. 2 plants will probably be plenty into the future. I think 4 was overkill. This actually is doing really well right now. This early prolific strake neck is putting on a great new flush in several places. So this was a winner for sure. This guy over here is our little patty pan squash, and we got a few, about maybe a dozen good size squash off that guy, but they're kind of clunky to work with. They're cute, but all we've really found to do with them that appreciates their shape is stuffing them into little boats. So I'm not sure if I'm going to grow those again, maybe if I have enough space, but they're not going to be a priority, I don't think. I might do tomatoes in this bed and then the vining squash on this side so that they're shaded a little bit. I definitely want the big vining stuff up here. So we'll see how that goes. And everything's still trying to produce, bless its heart. Like, we still have flowers. I've been kind of neglecting everything lately because I know it's not long for this world, so I haven't been picking off the dead leaves and things like that. Powdery mildew set in. I'm not too concerned. Oh, so this is our prize-winning participation watermelon. So there's 2 of them on here. Bless their hearts, they tried. Melons just were not happy out here. I think I'm gonna not try them outside next year. And we don't really eat watermelons or any kind of melons, so it was just kind of just to see if they would take, and they didn't, so whatever. But yeah, the spaghetti squash is doing great. These little honey nut squash, I'm gonna try and give them as long as I can. We've got another flush that's curing inside right now. But those guys did pretty well. And then this thing's a monster. Like, there's probably 5 or 6 baseball bats in here that I can't even find. So I'm gonna have to probably cut everything back and just scalp it on Wednesday before we freeze. I'm debating whether I'm gonna cover these, because I know I can't cover this, but we're supposed to warm up again after 3 days of slightly below freezing. So part of me is thinking, I wonder if I can cheat death, but I'm also tired. It's been a long season. It's been a good season, but a long season. I guess I can come around the back here. The little cucumbers did pretty well. This one plant did better than the others, and this one got a foliar spray, which also perked it up a lot. So I'm definitely going to do that again, probably early in the season before it sets fruit, and then again. I think the nettle was better suited to green growth, and I'll probably do comfrey or borage for a second application, so there's more phosphorus and potassium in there. Like that one didn't do so hot, but we had a good flush of little cucumbers for a while, so that was successful by all accounts, I guess. Another zucchini. This is the one from the in-laws. This is a different variety I don't know the name of, but it did pretty well too. Tomatoes got out of control. I neglected to, so we didn't have these trellises in here until they were quite large plants, so they are not supported as well as they could be. Next year they will be in place when I plant, and I think that'll help a ton. So some of them have gotten floppy, and I'm just kind of dealing with it. These guys, everything's doing really well, they're just really slow, and that's partially because, again, slow germination out here was a thing, and anything I start inside has been tragically stunted, so I'm still going to have to troubleshoot why my seedlings never really get as big as nursery plants. But my plan for these guys is Wednesday night I'm going to cut the whole plants back at the base and hang them upside down in the garage and ripen as many as I can. And then if not, we're going to have green tomato salsa and fried green tomatoes for days. Indigo cherry was a hit. I don't usually pick yellow pears to grow. Those are from the in-laws, but they're good, reliable producers of large things, or large quantities, so I appreciate that. My favorite this year in terms of flavor, and I can't remember what it's called, and I don't think I have any ripe right now. Maybe if you can... That little guy back there, I believe that's called either a chocolate cherry or a black cherry, but those had the best flavor, I find. They're a little fussy in terms of getting picked. They tend to split when you pick them, but I enjoyed their flavor the best this year. I think that's everything on this side. So I started, I think when I went to start these seeds here, that, these were supposed to be, I think it was a basil and onions, and I started them in like July, and I think it was just too dry, so I think that's another thing where the Oyas would be helpful, because I found it very hard to get anything to germinate once it got hot without spot watering. And another issue I detected is that these two back beds, the hose did not reach all the way over. So I've had the worst time getting hoses that last, so I'm trying to find the balance between unwieldy and poor longevity, basically. So we'll see how that goes next year. I'm hoping with Oyas I can just fill them with a watering can and not mess with that anymore. I got a handful of little butternuts from the in-laws plant, which is nice. Those will be harvested any day now. Again, this plant I did not baby because I cannot reach over here with the hose, so this was kind of left to its own devices, and it did okay. More tomatoes over here. Lots of little yellow pears. This bed was not as well suited as I thought toward the end of the season to tomatoes, because these trees were not shading it in the middle of the summer, but as we get into fall, when they need that sun to ripen, they had a little bit more shade than they should have. So I think I'm going to retire tomatoes from this bed and do something else here. I haven't decided what yet. Maybe amaranth or something. I think I'm going to do more native plants outside next year, like Three Sisters, things like that. These are, I believe these are Brandywine or Black Seaman, I can't remember what, but lots of these guys. They will probably be green through the end of the season. They just, they got started so late, I'm not counting on them to mature, but that's okay. They've had good flavor, they've ripened on the counter thus far, so that's not too bad. As far as future plans, again, this gazebo we're hopefully going to push back once the slab is knocked out. That's going to be a winter project that no one's looking forward to, if you know anyone with a backhoe. And then right here and back here, I got some river rock, and my intention is to do some rounded oval beds just to mix up the shapes and the textures out here, and do probably a trap crop Three Sisters in the back and a decorative Three Sisters in the front. So I have some like ornamental corn and pumpkins, and I will try beans again. I'll probably do a method like this with the mulch instead of wood chips, because the wood chips just drown any nitrogen fixers. Any legumes don't seem to like the wood mulch. So that's the plan for up here. And then I figure, since no one sees back there, I'll do trap crops back there for like squash borers and things like that, and see if I can pull the pests off back there where it's a little bit less visible. So that's the idea. I'll take you over to the Pollinator Garden. That was just a wonderful source of joy this year, having all the flowers. And I come out here every morning on a break from work to deadhead and just check out all the critters. Like, we've had so many bees and butterflies, and we had a assassin bug, which was a lot of fun, and it's just been delightful coming out here. So I'm definitely going to do this again. I probably don't have a choice because a lot of things went to seed right here, so I'm curious to see what happens next year. I'll probably curate it a little bit better, because this is the river rock I got, but with this I'm still planning to do like the medicine wheel style paths. This motherwort has to move. It is too big, so a lot of out here is kind of in flux for the moment. I don't really have a design yet, because I don't know if we're keeping this apple tree, for one thing, and then the slabs going. So I'm trying to kind of keep my design contained to in here for now until I figure out what we're doing. I'm trying to keep the contrast right. So this will probably be a little bit more curated next year. I'll probably thin the seedlings a bit better. But yeah, the herbs did pretty okay. This little cherry tree we planted for our wedding survived. It tried to set fruit and it just didn't take, but I'm hoping that next year it'll do a little bit better. It's probably dedicating some energy to roots, which I'm just totally fine with. I'm going to come out here later today. This is why I'm doing a video today. I want to harvest the rest of the bachelor buttons and dry those. I'll probably do some smudge ones with the mugwort. I did a wreath out of it, and it looks okay, but I like it for smudge ones very much. Maybe grab some more hyssop too. This is a fennel that went crazy. This was just in a pollinator mix, and caterpillars loved it, so that was a lot of fun. Let's look around here. Horseradish did well. I think I'm going to relocate some of these things because it's kind of like a guild in a line, and that's not what you want. So I eventually want to go around this tree if we keep this tree. So I'm going to hire a better arborist, or a better arborist than me anyway, to check this out, see if it's salvageable. If it is, prune it correctly, and then I will dedicate energy to it. If not, we're going to have to go back to the drawing board. The rhubarb kind of died back. I'm unfamiliar with how rhubarb behaves in the fall, so I'm hoping that will make it. I mean, it's pretty resilient, so I'm not too worried. And everything's going to get mulched a little bit deeper, so hopefully that's salvageable. These are the Sunchokes. They did bloom. They're looking kind of sad right now because I haven't been watering anything. And then that's the nettle back there. So everything's kind of tired. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to cut things back to compost in place and chop and drop, or if I'm going to leave some of them up for pollinator habitat. I think I'm going to leave I'll probably take these down because they're hideous, but I'll leave a good chunk of these as pollinator habitat because this is a pollinator garden, so that seems fitting. The rest of this stuff, whatever's not diseased, I'm going to try cutting back and just layering into the bed, and then burying it under compost and mulch and seeing if it composts. Because our little composter back there is getting full. It's not great. We'll see what happens. I might experiment with that just to build more biomass and not have to, God forbid, buy compost. Like, that's so wrong to me to buy waste products. But yeah, it could use, I don't want to waste all of this green material if I can help it, and most of the stuff that was diseased I've pulled off already, so we'll see. I'm trying not to introduce more problems, but we didn't have a big pest or disease problem this year, so I think this is going to be the year to do it if it is a time to do it. So that's everything out here. I'll probably do a separate video of what we did in the front yard because I put a little bit of, I put some fruit trees in and things like that. So I'm going to end this little tour with our shiny new addition. This is our 26-foot growing dome from Growing Spaces. We just got the frame done. Inspection is today or tomorrow, so cross your fingers and toes. But it's a big sucker. And it was a lot of fun to put together at the end, but you can just see like the pleasing symmetry, like, aww. So it should be nice sun exposure. And we're gonna try and get the glazing on next week if we pass inspection, and hopefully get this thing watertight before weather starts pouring in. We are actively racing the snow at this point. We did not want to have it take this long, but life got in the way. So this is the next big venture. So far it's been a learning experience and still pretty fun to do. You'd have to talk to my husband about how fun it is to do. I'm mostly just a project sponsor and useless foreman, but yeah, this is the new exciting venture, and I think what we're gonna do in here next year, I was hoping to plant in the fall this year. I don't think we're gonna make that in time, so it'll probably not see active growing until like February or March, whenever I start seeds for out here and in there. But I'm thinking I'm going to grow anything that hasn't been happy outside in here to start. So things like beans and peas, because it's not going to have as heavy of a fungus load, because I'm not going to be mulching in here. And then we still want to do fruit trees. We still want to do, I'd love to do herbs in here that aren't hardy to our climate. Like I want to have like a rosemary that just takes over the world in here. Like that's priority number one for me. And then we're going to probably do goldfish to start in the above ground pond, and then work our way up to something more edible one day. But it's going to be baby steps. We are probably not going to work on the interior beds until like December, because we are ready for a break. This has been every weekend for months because we're slow. So yeah, this will be documented as we make progress. And if you're interested in one of these, I'll leave a link to the company below. It's been a good experience with them so far. And they're highly well reviewed. So I'm hoping this will be a nice investment for our property. But yeah, that's the state of the homestead right now. So lots of lessons learned, lots to look forward to. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to document for my own purposes about learning experiences, but I think a lot of it was just prune the tomatoes earlier, get more water at the root level, and then work on that foliar spray. That was a pretty good choice. So yeah, that's where we are. I'll check in probably again once this is done. I'll probably have another tour of the front yard. But yeah, thanks for tuning in.